unmute, and it's all yours. You have 1 hour. Make it happen. Talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Gordon. And hello, everybody. I am Bowie. I'm from Hong Kong. So it's a pleasure to be here today with a group of amazing women joining us. So I'm a founder of MaGESpire, also a partner of DigitalWeek.Ventures. We have Joelle, who is a board member and investor in various companies in Africa. We also have Anca, co-founder of 23 Consulting, and Binet, also a educator, partner, and CMO, DAOventures, also a founder at Bitcoin Punjab. And we also have Martha, who is the chairwoman from Kuwi Kaza Investing Holdings. Excuse me of my pronunciation. So I like to go around each the room and have you quickly to introduce yourself. Why don't we start with Joelle?
Hi, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. My name is Okwechime. I am a chartered chemical engineer and also an environmentalist. I've worked in the oil and gas industry for over 20 odd years. And with that, I have managed to build a network of private equity guys and investors. So I consider myself as an investor. I've invested in a few oil and gas assets in Africa. And recently, I've been part of a fintech company called VFD Group. I'm on the board of VFD Group, and we basically got together and invested into a mortgage bank in Nigeria called Abe Mortgage Bank. We own 35% of Abe Mortgage Bank. We also have our own V Bank app, which is an app, one of the first ever digital banking apps in Nigeria. And yeah, I'm during my free time, I consider myself a biohacker. So I'm all about health optimization and all the fancy technology that involves health optimization. And yeah, and that's basically it.
Thank you, Joel. How about Anca?
Yes, hi. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. So I'm a pharmacist by training and a digital health entrepreneur, international speaker. 5 years ago, I was introduced to the wonderful world of blockchain in healthcare. I was immediately interested in this technology because I saw it as a way of bridging the trust gap between healthcare companies and patients. And this mission led to the creation of my company, which is called 23 Consulting. We support healthcare organizations in understanding the latest tech trends in healthcare. We also test and review a bunch of different health devices. We look into biohacking as well. So a lot of different topics related to health and technology. And one of our main focuses is blockchain.
Sounds great. I look forward to learn more from your journey. How about you, Ravneet?
Thanks, Barry, and guys, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. What a day to be hosting this event. So I'm a partner and CMO at DAOventures, which is a DeFi protocol that we have just launched mid-February. Product is coming early April. We have had really good feedback and community support with this new platform. Apart from that, I am the founder of Bitcoin Punjab podcast, which is mainly focused on North Indian region to start educating the unbanked communities on how, why Bitcoin and what is the future of open finance markets and what is it solving. So we've gone a little bit regional as well in terms of the language, and there are a few exciting things that are coming in that area. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment. And by my trade, I have worked for tech companies outside of crypto for years. And I am a fan of technology, automation, anything that creates efficiency, that is clever. I love working for those products and marketing them. And yes, I love educating the community as well. I think there's a huge gap with education, which is why we are missing mass adoption. And of course, because crypto is in infancy. So that's what I am focusing on at the moment. And I'm really excited to be here my second time on Digital Week Online, and a little shout out to Juliet. She is such a powerful woman running this event, and I think I should be giving her a shout out for Women's International Day. Love you, Juliet.
Thank you. And also a big kudos to Lisa as well. So I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. So I'm from Hong Kong. I actually wear a few hats. One side, I do angel investment into technology companies called MaGEspire. And also as MaGEspire, we invested a venture capital fund. So I'm a partner of a VC fund called DigitalWeek.Ventures. And DigitalWeek.Ventures, or what you call TGV, we focus on basically it's a blockchain fund. We focus on serial entrepreneurs. So basically, we only want to invest into companies that the entrepreneur will invest their own money into the startup. And there are 4 specific verticals that we are interested in. One is financial services. Second is infrastructure. Third is gaming / entertainment, and fourth is AI / data analytics. So one side, that's the investment side. And I also run MaGESpire, which is the co-host for the DigitalWeek.Online for this week. Very excited. I think this is our 3rd time working together. And I run a lot of educational events and conferences in tech and fintech, blockchain, investment, and family offices related topics. So which is why I'm very excited. I think it's very important to pay it forward to spread the knowledge. And on the other hand, I also run a consultancy. I'm helping companies in terms of business development and market access. So my next question, now you all told us a little bit about yourselves, and how did you get into the fintech space or perhaps blockchain space? Why don't we start with Anca?
Sure. So I got into the blockchain space when I was still in my 3rd year of pharmacy. So during my studies, and one of my professors, which was Denise Guarda, which is also a speaker at this event and a very well-known blockchain and fintech influencer, he introduced me to this technology. He briefly talked about it in class. And afterwards, I went to see him to ask for more information because I was curious to see what blockchain was and how it worked. But instead of giving me an answer, he actually challenged me to go look by myself and start researching the link between blockchain and healthcare, because I was studying pharmacy at the time. So this is how I started digging into it, and it became really interesting for me to see how the healthcare industry that I knew and that I was studying could be linked to this technology that we only heard about in the Bitcoin world and fintech world. So it was really interesting to try to connect these 2 worlds. So I went on to write a bunch of articles and speak at international conferences about everything that I was learning as I was doing it. And this is what led to the creation of my company. In 2019, I also did the first TEDx conference on the use of blockchain in healthcare, which was really exciting. And since then, we've worked with top pharmaceutical companies, healthcare facilities, NGOs, and so on blockchain projects. So yeah, it all started with that challenge.
Great. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Ravneet?
Yeah, thanks, Bowie. So I entered crypto markets in 2017, just before the big Bitcoin boom. And I was one of the many people that joined to make money, didn't know anything about technology, didn't care about technology. It's such a niche and hidden industry, especially back in 2017, because after that, it's gone quite mainstream, as we know. I was dating a guy, and all he would talk about is Bitcoin. This was when Bitcoin was 3,900. And, I wanted to impress him. And I've been quite switched on when it comes to technology. I get it, because these are the industries I've worked in. I was like, you know what, I'm going to show him, and I'm going to join Bitcoin. I'm going to be cool. And I'm going to, I'm going to date this person because of that. And so I took my stock out for my previous company, which is HubSpot, marketing software company outside of crypto. And I put money in Bitcoin, and within 3 months, because it was just before the boom, Bitcoin went up so high and the pricing boomed. So it definitely got my attention, and I'm like, okay, what is going on with this? Why has the price gone up? This isn't normal. This isn't like this doesn't happen. So I quit my job because I did make a lot of money. I quit my job and I decided to learn about crypto and blockchain. The challenge I faced was that I'm from Australia, I live in Sydney, and I felt quite cut off from the rest of the world with crypto. I tried to go online and learn about it, and there was just, there's resources, but it's so technical. It's such a different world that I just couldn't grasp the concept. So I had an idea of blockchain automation, and I quite liked it because, as I mentioned, any technology, if you're in technology and you're not part of the future, or you're not looking towards what's coming next, then you're not doing it right. So I started traveling a lot in Asia to attend events, and when I started attending these blockchain events, my understanding of crypto versus what I was learning when I was speaking to people, it was completely different. So I decided to start a marketing agency. I decided to do a few different things as I was learning more and more about crypto. And every time I would decide to do something, I would realize, wow, this is still such a new industry. I can do something bigger. So for example, I thought I'd start a marketing agency, but then I'm like, hang on, I can come and do something even bigger because it's such a new industry and there's so much gap. And you've got people like myself and, all the ladies here who have had such a powerful background, of professionally. So we're looking at it like, okay, we can fill a gap because obviously not everything is done at the optimal level yet. So I was running a few events in Australia to bridge the gap between Australia and Asia to teach them about crypto. And then 2019, I moved to Malta, the blockchain island, and I was working as the head of marketing for Sigma Group and running events there. And then thanks to COVID, I came back last year to Australia, and that's when I decided I wanted to switch it up a little bit and start educating people because I had time because I didn't have a job. So I was like, I'll launch a podcast and start educating. And then right about that time, this opportunity with DAOventures came. So now I'm just really focused on my learnings and the journey that I went through. How can I minimize that and package it and simplify it and feed it to masses?
Great, thank you for sharing. I think, impressing a boyfriend on this topic, I think this is a really good motivation. So this is fun.
Not the best way to do it. Not the most sustainable way to start.
Start with to kick off the competition, to create a good impression. So definitely would work. So thank you for sharing. How about Joel? How did you get into where you are now, or fintech, and especially in the investment space?
Thank you for your question. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really inspired by you women and the stories. And Anca, you talking about Dennis? Dennis also got me into the world of blockchain. So Dennis is doing his work all over the world. He's inspired me a lot. And someone like me who's a strategic thinker and innovative, I look at this opportunity and see how I can bring that into other sectors. For example, in the educational sector, in the banking sector as well, and also it just in general in terms of like products. For example, now that we have this perfect way of verification with the blockchain, we can actually get so involved in even the process of how the farmers actually grow their crops and making sure that those that there's fair trade and they've actually used the sort of like methods that we're happy with. So the whole verification is such an amazing thing, and also the fact that you can cut out the middleman. So for me, with blockchain, I would say that there's a lot of opportunities that are coming up at the moment, and we are basically, I would say that they're in the oven at the moment baking, and we're looking forward to some amazing projects. In terms of what I've done so far with fintech, I would say that the first VBank being the first ever digital bank in Nigeria, because in Nigeria, it's not exact, it's quite different because most people don't have bank accounts, and it's very difficult for them to verify themselves or to have an identification. And I believe it was a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, they introduced something called a BVN number. So everyone has a BVN number, and with that number, they can basically open an account. So with that, the bank created the first digital banking app, so people could just basically log on and open a bank account. So for them, it's like an amazing opportunity, especially for the SMEs and for people with very low income. And it's just a way for, because in Nigeria, it's very common for people to give you money on your birthday or like on Christmas Day, New Year, and that sort of thing. So it's sort of like, okay, let's just give me your account number. I can just basically just wire the money to you straight away. So yeah. With the actual app, we are obviously number one on Apple apps, so we've done really well. However, when we think about it, it's really like an opportunity because Nigeria has 200 million people. So it's a case of like, let's play around with these numbers. We can actually create a lot of data and actually figure out like what kind of things can we do to actually improve on providing services and what kind of services can we provide. So we're going through this learning curve, and with COVID, it's also given us opportunity to actually create more data and look at ways and how we can improve the way we do things. And so it's an interesting time for all of us, and we're looking forward to new innovative technologies that are going to come into Nigeria. Because once it hits Nigeria, then it hits the whole of Africa.
Thank you for sharing. I never got a chance to visit Nigeria or Africa, but then I know the culture, and I do see the massive.
I can tell you do, because you're nodding. I'm like, so I know you.
I do see the massive of the opportunities when you implement emerging technology into this emerging market. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. My turn. I guess I never share about how I got into the blockchain or the crypto space. I think mainly because of my husband. He's a banker by the day. Nighttime, he's a technologist. Weekend, he's a philosopher that drives me nuts. That's him. And because of him, I think that back in 2016, if I remember correctly, he was the guy who told me, hey, do you know what is Bitcoin? Do you know what is Ethereum or Ether? I was like, what the hell is that? I don't know what you're talking about. And he himself, I think he invested Ether when it was $8 USD.
Wow.
Okay? And when I first I think when I started to keep tracking the Bitcoin dollar, I think it was 1,200. So if you ask me if I have invested at that time, no, I didn't. I think everybody has a Bitcoin or Ether story when it comes to cryptocurrency. My husband, he did purchase Ether. It was $8, but he's a banker by the day. So as he's by profession, he's a trader. Okay, so as a so-called professional trader, according to him, do you know at what price he sold it out? According to him, as a professional trader, when the Ether went up to $12, he sold it because 50% increase to a professional trader is a lot already. He make money, yes, he did, but very, very minimum. And after he sold it, and then it went up like rocket. So I think everybody has a story when it comes to cryptocurrency or blockchain. Then it got into my attention that okay, this is an interesting topic, and I like to emphasize the fact that cryptocurrency and blockchain are two different things. I think people really like to mix it up together, and especially when 2017 and 2018, when the ICO came in, and all the collapse and all the bubbles and scare people away. And blockchain, the term, I think afterward turned into a negative term. People actually are a little bit skeptical and worry and scare about this, but it's actually totally different thing. It's a very advanced technology. I think a very simple term would be decentralized, distributed, and immutable ledger, where you share amount of group of people where trust is optional. So, then we started to do a little angel investment at part of we focus on 5 specific technology, and obviously blockchain is one of them, which is why very interested into looking into any blockchain related projects. and also subsequently, I joined this TGV fund, which is a blockchain-focused VC fund. And I got to understand a lot more about the technology as well as a lot of different fascinating projects, which I will tell you a little bit more afterward. So my next question is about for our Anca. So we know that you work in the healthcare industry. Can you talk about the top blockchain initiative at the moment that contribute to the end of the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because I can completely relate to what you said, Bowie, about the fact that we went through a phase where everyone was criticizing blockchain and no one wanted to use it anymore. We had like this blockchain bashing moment. And this came after a lot of companies were really excited about the technology. There was a lot of hype, a lot of buzz around it. But real examples and concrete examples of what it does in healthcare were missing. So a lot of people got their hopes up and then they were really disappointed. So the pandemic for us was a huge opportunity because it allowed us to take the time to really think about what are some of the use cases and how can we actually develop them to make a difference in the way that the pandemic is happening right now, and how can we use technology to help patients. And there are a couple of examples that I think are really interesting. The first one is that the WHO is working with a consortium of European companies to build what they call a blockchain-based digital vaccination certificate. So this is a document that proves that you received your shot, and this will help patients come back to real life, travel, go to restaurants, go to the movies, and go in different places where there's a crowd, and then show their digital passport saying, I got the COVID-19 vaccine. There's a blockchain proof of it, so I'm not lying about it. And I think this is really interesting. And what's also interesting is that the people behind it. So the WHO, which is a big organization, and we were not expecting such a big player to come into the blockchain world and build this type of project. And the second player that's really interesting is Okwechime, which is the Estonian company that developed a blockchain sort of infrastructure to secure medical records for patients. So I thought it was really interesting to have these very two big players come into the healthcare space and say, we are using blockchain technology to provide a solution for patients at the end of the pandemic. So this is really exciting. And then a second example, this one's not really linked to the pandemic, but I do think it will have a huge impact, is the Pharma Ledger initiative. So Pharma Ledger is a consortium of 20 plus top healthcare, top pharmaceutical companies with academics and consulting companies and a bunch of different people that are working together. They're financed by the European Commission and pharmaceutical companies. They have a 22 million euro budget. And their goal in the next 2 to 3 years is to build the blockchain infrastructure that will support all the use cases in healthcare. So this is extremely exciting because we have an approach where everyone is coming at the table, everyone's working together to build an infrastructure that is directly designed for the healthcare industry. And what they're trying to address is everything from clinical trials, because I guess you all know by now that there's a huge trust problem in clinical trials. People have doubts about how clinical trials are run, if data is falsified, if data is missing, if the results are true. So all these trust issues are supposed to be addressed with blockchain and have sort of an audit trail, everything that happens in clinical trials. Then they're also looking at supply chain. That could be used for the vaccine supply chain, which is really interesting, but for any supply chain, because we have, I think it's close to 30% of the drugs are counterfeit in some parts of the world, which is huge. And then they're also looking at data management. How can the patient have more control over its personal data? And this is a huge topic now with the COVID-19 pandemic, with big tech companies spying on patients and on people, and being able to have control of your personal data, decide who to share it with. I think this is a huge responsibility, also huge power that you can bring back to the patients. So these are some of the projects that I'm really excited about.
Thank you for sharing. I think blockchain might not be able to solve all the problems, but when you think about if you combine, let's say, IoT Internet of Things with blockchain, that solve a really massive problem, especially for supply chain, because lots of people throughout the process of, the whole chain, then there's a lot of possibility of, swapping the fake items in order to get I think for those bad people to make money out of it. So yes, thank you for sharing. How about Ravneet, question for you. If you are focusing on, mass adoption to blockchain, crypto and DeFi market, where are you focusing now, and how are you looking to achieve this?
Yeah, thank you for that. Just in advance, if you guys hear two huge dogs barking in the background, we'll just let that slide. Yeah, mass adoption, I think, is the next step. We have seen in the last few months huge institutional plays entering Bitcoin and crypto, and that's only, if anything, increased more trust from the general public. And we haven't even caught on to the proper hype yet that we saw in 2017 when everyone went crazy and everyone was buying any sorts of coin they were being recommended. So in regards to mass adoption, this is one of the things that is very important for me because I enjoy working with communities. I enjoy working with larger groups of people and creating network effects. And I think that in order to bring mass adoption, we need to be very niche. We need to target specific communities. So with DAOventures, which is a DeFi protocol, what we're looking to do here is one of the huge issues at the moment with DeFi is that it's very complex. The UX is still in its infancy, still very technical, and let alone masses, even crypto people do not know how to enter DeFi because it's very technical. It's very, very decentralized. So one of the things that we're looking to solve is, of course, this very problem by automating DeFi strategies so we can allow more adoption in the crypto industry itself. And then the second layer is Southeast Asia market. We have actually just launched our Chinese community today, and we're gonna sit on it for a few weeks and gather some data as to where majority of our traction in Southeast Asia is coming from. Some of the markets that we're looking at is China, well, not China specifically, but the Chinese community outside of China, Philippines, India for sure, and we'll then keep an eye on what kind of traction we're getting. We want to partner up with communities there, and one of the main kind of products we want to roll out is where there's use cases, especially around lending and borrowing. So to give you an example, I don't know if many people know here, but the biggest ever protests are taking place in India for the last few months, and some have even deemed them to be the biggest protests in the history of the world. They have been going on for a few months, and it's basically farmers asking the government to repeal the new laws that have been introduced to privatize agriculture industry. And we all know what happens when an industry becomes privatized. So one of the use cases that, would love to explore in that area would be to kind of work with the government. And the problem with the farmers at the moment in India is, apart from these laws, is they have the highest suicide rates. And that is direct result of the high interest loans that they're taking out to basically survive and keep the agriculture industry going. These are the farmers that have very small land. We're not talking about big guys, we're talking about the small guys. Highest suicide rates because they can't pay this back to the bank. So this is such an ideal use case for DeFi lending and borrowing and insurance to be actually rolling it out where there is urgent need. We could actually save lives by just giving them better rates, by teaching them how to make money, how to provide liquidity and, yield farming and all of these strategies and localize it in their language. So one of the key goals is, while we can sit here and kind of, educate on a mass level, which is also what we plan to do, it's, I think, also very important to learn markets and understand where is the urgent need right now that this can solve. How can we propose this to the government? How can we work with the regulators and the government to roll it out together? Because governments also need so much education. they're still trying to get their head around Bitcoin and blockchain, let alone DeFi, which is a whole different beast. So that's the strategy with DAOventures, is to look for use cases, and there is no shortage of use cases when it comes to helping the unbanked and giving them better rates and decentralizing financial services. So that's number one. Number two, with the podcast that I'm working on, Bitcoin Punjab, we plan to take it mainstream very quickly. I can't tell too much about it because it's still very undercover, but it's very, very exciting. We're looking to go on a very big mainstream platform and bring a very strategic educational approach to this, where we are educating the masses and really simplifying the message of why crypto and what is the difference between your centralized banking services and financial markets versus open finance markets. And I think it's about time someone goes mainstream and does it on a huge level. And I think this is the natural next step. The institutional guys have come in. Now, this is the only gap that's remaining. So I think we need to fill that. But I'd love everyone to connect with me after this, to follow the journey. And once we roll it out, to talk about this platform, would love to have you guys on board as well and as speakers. So that's kind of a few of the things with mass adoption that we're looking at going strategically with DeFi to where the use cases are, especially around in Southeast Asia, and also education on mainstream platforms.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, I think that's the purpose of joining panel discussion. One is to kind of create awareness of the topic, as well as pay it forward to share the knowledge to others. But at the same time, it's all about how we connect each other and help each other as a group. So thank you for offering. And Joel, so let's speak about the feminine energy in the male environment. Since today is the International Women's Day, what are the positives and the negatives?
Oops. Oh.
Yeah, you can turn on the microphone or the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's I'm using my phone. Yeah, so that question was basically for all of you guys, including yourself. Because obviously, for me as a chemical engineer, I actually worked in Australia as well for Woodside, and I was obviously the only female in the camp. It was like 1 woman to 10 men. So I've always worked in a masculine environment, and to me, I feel like there's the positive side about it is obviously that we have a different energy, and that we bring a lot of to the table in terms of like decision making and risk and all sorts of other things in the company. So I just wanted to know how it was for you guys, because for me, obviously, I feel like, that with the feminine energy and the masculine energy together, that's where the power comes in. There's always a good mix of both energies in the room. And I just wanted to know what it's like for you guys, because obviously I have no idea what it's like in your industry.
I guess, were you asking everyone or should I jump in?
Yeah, she's asking everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry, sure. So I think from my personal experience, I agree. The fintech industry, if we put blockchain and crypto there as well, fintech industry has been very male dominated, and I see it as very like closed doors, cold, very rigid when it comes to rules, and just very, very cold industry. And I talk about it actually often on Twitter. Sometimes I post here and there like the feminine energy, and we're going to see that. We're going to see a powerful entrance of like these, like imagine Wonder Woman, but a lot of them just entering like the fintech industry and a lot of male dominated industries, and just kind of like really balancing the energies, because they have been off balance for a very long time. I think for me personally, I have also worked in a lot of male dominated environments, being in technology and now in finance. And sometimes it is a battle because especially when you're around a lot of masculine testosterone in the room, right? And sometimes you can be kind of overlooked, or what you're trying to voice can be overlooked, or it can be not deemed as very important as opposed to maybe something that's coming from a masculine. So one of the things that I've experienced quite a bit, and I've worked that muscle, is to fight. Not fight as in like actually, but sometimes I have to, it's crazy. Sometimes I have to fight for my position that I already have. That is already my position. Sometimes I have to fight for it to assert my dominance, that, this is my role and this is where I get to say the final say. So, I'm sure a lot of women experience that as well. But I think this year should be really, really interesting. And I think more and more women, as we join, as we kind of, do, because women are builders. It's not in our psyche to see women as builders, but we are builders, and we can multitask, but we can have a lot of projects under us. We are the glue that keeps everything together. And now to see women, in management roles, and especially entering crypto and DeFi and blockchain, we're going to see just some really, testimonies of that this is beyond gender, but what do women bring? Now that we're seeing a lot of women enter together, at the same time, we're definitely going to see the ripple effect of what they're bringing. And it's definitely balancing of the energies, nurturing. These rules have been cold so far. We need nurturing. So that's my 2 points.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, I attended a physical that was before the pandemic happened. That was it was a event organized by Standard Chartered, and they also have a speaker from Citibank. So I forgot her name, but then one key message I got from that event was that Citibank has, I believe, is worldwide, but I think she spoke on behalf of the whole Hong Kong region, that they make all the employee salary range, male and female, equal. So that actually I was a bit surprised to hear that news, and I was like, wow, that was a really good move, So for all these, including ourselves, either male or female, whatever position you like, every one of us can actually play a key role to make a difference, especially if you are female, holding a very important managerial role, that you can actually make a lot of difference to I guess lead by example. So this is one thing that you might consider to do that. And for me, it's just an unfair this is the fact. Unfortunately, I think if you ask me, it's going to change big time. No, I don't think so. Are we supposed to fight? Yes, but not physically, of course. I think actions speak louder than word. A lot of things that we do, as you mentioned, we're really good at multitasking. We are the glue. And think about it. Men only use one side of the brain. We as a female, we use both sides. So we should be, biologically, we should be smarter, a lot smarter than males. So I think, we just need to stay positive and stay together, because alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. This is what I believe.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, what you're mentioning there, that we need to fight, not physically, but I think what needs to be done is a reprogramming of a lot of our belief system, for both, not just for masculine, for males, for females too, because it's in our psyche that we're not deserving of as much money. It's like, it's good to have money, it's good to have position, it's good to be in the management team, but CEO, you've done fine so far being in management. That's a good job. And I think also in masculine psyche, there have been programs that women are not deserving as much as you are. So I think there's a lot of reprogramming to be done as well. And it's a slow process, but it is coming undone. Sorry.
Absolutely. Yes. Anything you would like to add, Anca?
Yeah, to build on what you guys were saying, I think that the health and tech industry is also male dominated. I think like any tech industry in general. So it's really hard to be given a seat at the table. So you really have to take the seat. You have to impose yourself. And how do you do that? I think it's by bringing value to the conversation, because in my opinion, skills and knowledge will always win over gender. So if you have something to say, if you can create value, if you can help around you, then I think that will always be appreciated, no matter if you're a girl or a guy or anything in between. That would always be really appreciated. And if you cannot get a seat at the table, just create your own table. And this is something that I've also done. One of my other activities is that I'm a co-founding member of a podcast company. And this company started when we wanted, with my associate, to create a podcast only for female leaders in healthcare. Because it was really hard to reach them. It was really hard to sit at their table. So we thought we will create our own table and only invite C-level executives in healthcare that will talk about their background, that will talk about really interesting topics like health, like their own personal health, like their experience in healthcare, patients they met with, and a lot of different topics that are really taboo, but that we wanted to bring to the table. And then when we realized that women leaders were not the only ones that were struggling to get a place at the table, we also looked at patients and caregivers, and we realized that their voice was not heard. We also created a podcast for them, and we gave them a seat at our table. We created our own tables. So I think this is really powerful. If you don't have a seat at the table, just create your own table.
That's so true, which is why I created my own, I guess, community, MaGESpire, because I do believe bringing value, bringing knowledge, sharing. When people find you valuable, you will definitely earn your place, and you will earn your spot and earn your respect from others. Thank you for sharing. So now my next question goes to Ravneet. What are you expecting, from 2021 onward, for the crypto space and the DeFi space? What are your views on it?
Sure. I think this year is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be huge, given if we survived 2020 and whatever company survived 2020, I think 2021, they're in for some sort of reward now, like, well done, you did well. Look, in regards to 2021, if we look at, there's so much going on in the world, so much going on, the political, the energies that are political, the protests happening all around the world. And I think collectively, people are crying out for a change in institutions that have run the world globally, and they are asking for fairness now. They're standing up and they're asking for fairness. And we are seeing this movement more and more become more and more bigger and catch on to different countries, with the farmers' protests being a huge example, biggest protest in the history taking place right now. So I think this year we will see governments opening up and becoming more and more warmer to working with the community on these new technologies, because I do feel that a lot of countries now will start to, now that institutions have entered, I think and with the mass adoption, I think the next phase now is for countries to now actually come in, for regulators, and to now start working on frameworks, working on rolling it out, because if they don't, they can't stop DeFi, they can't stop Bitcoin, they cannot stop crypto. So they're gonna have to catch on the wave and come on board. I think this year we will also, in terms of pricing for Bitcoin, we already have seen record prices, but I think this is just the beginning. I think we're gonna go a long way. And I'm excited to see what we're gonna finish this year on. In regards to projects, 2017 was huge crypto boom, and we saw, I don't know, over 2,000 cryptocurrencies launched, and how many survived? Very low percentage, and some of them are still making their way through. So I think this year we'll also see a refinement and very sophisticated products coming out and being built that are actually there for the community. How many companies were launched in 2017 that even raised good amount of money, but where are they now? Where's the products? So I think we're going to start seeing, because market is becoming more and more smarter now. investors are becoming smarter, VCs are becoming smarter, and also people that are launching ICOs, they're becoming a lot more switched on. Maybe we need to build a product, maybe we need to build a beta first, and then launch. Because in 2017, money was just pouring in all of these projects. So I think we're going to see quality projects now. We're going to see a marriage between projects, but actual use cases as well coming in. I'm already starting to see a trend where, for DeFi, the lending and borrowing markets are now starting to actually get used. People are actually using that. So I think we're going to see a huge rise in that as well. And it's a matter of starting dialogue before we see different industries coming in and wanting to utilize the power of blockchain as well. But this year, it's going to be a beast compared to what we have seen so far.
Thank you. I think one thing I like to highlight, I think we've been talking about blockchain, we've been talking about cryptocurrency. I think one thing I like to highlight is non-fungible tokens. I think everybody know what is fungible token, like Bitcoin in Ether, but nowadays non-fungible tokens or NFTs have jumped into the mainstream recently. So basically NFT are digital assets that have been around since 2017 when we have heard about, I think the first thing was the CryptoKitties, and now like since last year it became like 250 million in the market, and creators are already realizing the potential to make millions in the relative space. Last week there are lots of activities happening in the NFT space, like Grims, who is the Canadian singer and also happens to be Elon Musk's girlfriend, sold her first digital collection for about $5.8 million in about 20 minutes auction, and also includes a very interesting item. One of them includes an image of a baby protecting Mars, where her boyfriend Elon Musk plans to travel. And Grimm isn't the only artist to have made out big on the NFT already. And the digital artist Beatles sold 3.5 million worth of art through Nifty Gateway last year. And I think last Friday, Kings of Leon also released their new album, When You See Yourself, in the form of NFT. So becoming the first band to ever do so. And one interesting fact that actually happened last week at the same time is the NBA Top Shop online marketplace also has done over 65 millions in sales just 1 week last week. So I think the market is that getting a lot of attention in the NFT and cryptocurrency space, and I think God knows what will actually happen at the end of this year. So, Anca, what do you think about what are you expecting in the health tech space and the blockchain space, in your view, for 2021?
Well, I'm really excited for this year because I feel like we are now past the experimentation phase, the educational phase, at least here in France, and I think more generally in Europe. We now sort of understand what blockchain is, and not precisely what it is, but what it can do. Because I feel like this is what's most important. Going into what technicalities are behind blockchain, I don't think it's really interesting for people that work in healthcare and that want to build solutions. What's really interesting for them is to know how this technology can be used. So very focused on use cases, and we're getting there. So I think that we have huge investments, we have consortiums working together, we have also public interest in these topics. So we are going to see the first large-scale implementations of blockchain in healthcare. And to add to that, I also think that the general public is really interested in everything that has to do with healthcare. That was not the case before the pandemic. People were not really aware of how do you produce a drug, how do you put it on the market, what are clinical trials, how do they work, how do you have access to telemedicine. All these things were not a real topic before the pandemic, but today they are. So people are expecting drugs to be released on the market much faster, clinical trials to be secure and reliable. People expect access to care in 5 minutes from their sofa. So expectations are really high, and I think this is going to put a huge pressure on healthcare companies to deliver, because beforehand they they were experimenting, they had innovation, but they didn't have patients knocking at their door saying, we want this now. And today we have these patients that are impatient and that really want solutions to be released on the market now. And I think this pressure will really accelerate the whole industry.
Thank you. Joel, how about you? What are you expecting, especially from the investor point of view for the coming 2021? What are you expecting in this year?
Thank you. Can you remember 2020? I believe it was just during Christmas, and Peloton was not doing so great in the beginning of 2020, and they were just, I remember on CNN, they were just making fun of them that low, these people are obviously, they thought they could sell their bikes for, great Christmas presents, but it didn't go very well. But look what happens now. I mean, they're doing extremely well because everyone's managed to, 2020 kind of was a year where we all had to go inwards. We all had to look for answers within ourselves. We had to actually question everything. Question our health, question how we do things, question why do we go to work and work 9 to 5 in this office space, and all those things stuff came, and also questioning what is the media trying to do, because some of the information coming through is just not making any sense. So we all end up learning how to actually do our own research and figure out what we want to do. So in terms of health, as a biohacker, we are now looking at there's so many devices that are out there that actually do a whole body scan, the devices that can tell you, for example, I've got the smart plate, which is a new device that basically tells you your macros. So you don't need a nutritionist anymore. Just put your scale on, and it's got 3 different plates, and then you just weigh it, and it tells you okay, yeah, your macros are too much or too little, and it basically helps you to balance your macros. And this is a way of also reversing diabetes. So there's so much new technology that's come out of COVID in terms of ways of healing yourself, because healing, we can heal ourselves as well. It's not just about what's the latest drug, but also to look at holistic ways of healing ourselves, and also we're looking at ways to do our own, just basically do our own research and find out what's the underlying issues that we have, and figuring out how we can heal ourselves through not having to always depend on whatever the doctor says and things like that. Just basically looking at food, how we eat, how we cook. The restaurants are closed, so you're all cooking in their own kitchen. You're using different oils and stuff. So the whole thing has really changed the way we look at ourselves. So 2021 is obviously now everyone's kind of awake. The entrepreneurial spirit is awake as well, because people are now looking at, okay, I can make money through different ways. I can invest. I can put my money into Bitcoin, or I can look at blockchains. I can look at various different ways to make money. So it's really the fact that everyone is now kind of not depending on corporation, the government. I'm sounding like a rebel right now, but that's what's happening at the moment, especially for me myself. It's really got me to actually stand for myself and go with what I believe, and listening to my inner self, and just focusing on what I'm being told is the right thing to do.
Great, thank you. So I think we almost come to the end of our session, but before we leave, I'd like to go around each of us and do you have any final words for the audience today? I think something to pay it forward, to inspire people who would like to get to know about either investment side, the fintech side, or the blockchain side, or the health tech side. What would you tell the audience something to for them to learn? So why don't we start with Ravneet?
Because I unmuted myself already. I was like, I think the message that I'd like to share from my end is, we're at the brink of, and I know we've been saying this since 2017, but really now we are at the brink of something phenomenal taking place. Like Jules said, that 2020 was just a year of really looking at everything in our lives and collectively. And I think everyone did that. We had no choice. We had to. And this year is all about executing and implementing these new changes, this new us, and collectively how we want to see the institutions, how we want to see the world operate. So I think we're at the brink of something really amazing. And Bitcoin has had a reputation problem to the masses because they don't understand it, scams, spammers. So I think now is the time that we really want to hold it down, hold down the industry, and really, start speaking to as many people as we possible, but start identifying what are some of the education platforms that we can start referring these new people to, because we're going to see it's happened to all of us. People come to us and they ask us, how do we learn about crypto? How do we learn about Bitcoin? And I think now is the chance more than ever for us to be responsible as well and understand where we can direct this traffic that's coming, and really lead the way, because we are the faces of crypto. Especially this year, we're going to see a lot of women. So that would be my message. I think you're muted, Bowie.
Oh, thank you. How about you, Joe?
To me, it's just about, us women, sticking together, helping other women, the young women, the women that are coming up, in understanding that they don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or, these things that their parents have been told to become, and that there are now different ways to empower, ourselves, even with just Instagram, posting pictures, you can, there's so many ways, there's so many revenues to wealth. It's not just about being, studying and becoming a doctor or stuff like that. So I'm just looking forward to us all, collectively helping others and empowering others, because when they are empowered, they're actually helping all of us, because we're all one.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anca?
I think we're living through a very exciting time where we have the technology that we need. We have the general public wanting to advance the healthcare industry, and we have companies willing to invest in this space. So I feel like everything is aligned to improve the healthcare industry, to use technology for better, more efficient, and better quality care. So I think it's really exciting time. And another thing that I wanted to highlight is for people to pay attention to their sources, because throughout this whole pandemic, we've seen a lot of fake news, a lot of misinformation when it comes to healthcare. And I think that health is something that's so precious that we cannot rely on, Twitter and other platforms to tell us what we should do with it, who we should consult, what the truth is about vaccines and drugs and so on. So really pay attention to your sources. I think this is really important. And maybe if you're interested in resources, I talk a lot about health tech and how technology can improve your health on my social media, on my Instagram, YouTube. So I think if you want to start somewhere and you're interested in health and technology, I think that's a good place to start.
Thank you for sharing. I think I have a quick question. If anyone of the audience wanted to get in touch with one of you, so can you say your contact information or where we can find you? Joe?
Yes, basically the quickest way is just with my name, Jewel Okwechime, and I believe that we've also done something within the whole digital online website as well. So hopefully, just by searching my name, you can find whatever you need. Yeah, that's the quickest way.
Me as well. Same, Ravneet. So we can find you over.
Yeah, so Twitter would be the best way. I'm like on Twitter, hooked. So my username is Ravneet Kaur, what you're seeing on the screen, and tech, Ravneet Kaur tech. That's my username, so you can look that up and find.
Great. And Anca?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram under first and last name, just as you can see it on the screen.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you all, ladies. I think it's my pleasure, honor, and privilege speaking to all of you today. And for my final words, I think no matter what you do, I'm not here to ask anyone to do any investment on cryptocurrency or NFT, but I think it's also important to get yourself educated. If you can start either 100 USD or 1000 USD, whatever month that you feel comfortable to buy a fraction of a Bitcoin, or either you will get to know a lot of information, how you're going to protect your, what is public key, what is private key, how you're going to keep your private key safe, online, offline, all these things. And along the way, you actually complete a basic crypto 101 course. So I think no matter what you do, investment side, or you want to change your career, you want to get a promotion, you want to stay competitive, no matter what you do, you always need to get yourself educated. And which is why I think one of my core focus is to do a lot of education sharing session with everybody. So I think that comes to the end for our event today.
We forgot one thing. How do they reach you?
Me? Oh, I'm sorry. My full name under MaGESpire on LinkedIn. So if you find me on LinkedIn, you will get me.
Very good.
Thank you so much for being
you say the best
amazing.
for last, but then the last didn't happen. You
I forgot about it.
No, great panel, very inspirational. You know, I had some personal takeaways. I really appreciate it, and I just want to thank everyone, and fantastically well moderated. So we're gonna wrap it up because we gotta move on to the next one. So blessings, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. You're all appreciated.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.